My fiancée didn't want me to meet her parents, said they wouldn't be at the wedding, so I secretly found them myself. She told me her parents were dead, both of them gone before she turned 22, a car accident on a rainy highway outside Sacramento. I believed her for 2 years. Then I found her mother's obituary search coming up empty and a phone number in her contacts saved simply as "Do Not Answer." My name is Trevor Lang. I'm 34 years old. This is a Thursday evening in February, 7:50 p.m., and I'm sitting in my car outside a house in Modesto, California, 90 minutes from where I live, about to knock on a door that's going to change everything I thought I knew about the woman I was 6 weeks away from marrying. Let me back up first. I met Sophia 3 years ago at a friend's barbecue in Sacramento. She was funny, sharp, guarded in a way that made me want to earn her trust rather than run from it. 6 months in, I asked about her family, the normal question you ask when things start getting serious. She went quiet, then told me both her parents died when she was 22, a car crash on Highway 99 during a rainstorm. She said she didn't like talking about it. I respected that. I didn't push. We got engaged 14 months ago. I proposed on a Tuesday, nothing fancy, just the two of us at her apartment, and she cried in a way that felt like relief more than joy, though I didn't think much of that distinction at the time. As we started planning the wedding, guest lists, venues, all of it, I noticed something that should have bothered me sooner than it did. Sophia had almost no family presence in her life at all. No aunts, no uncles, no cousins mentioned at holidays. When I asked about extended family, she'd say something vague, "We weren't close," and change the subject fast enough that I learned not to linger on it. Here's the moment everything started cracking. 6 weeks before the wedding, I brought up something innocent, wanting to include a small memorial table at the reception, a photo of her parents, a candle, something to honor them during the ceremony. Sophia's reaction wasn't grief, it was panic. "No," she said, too fast, too sharp. "No memorial table. I don't want people asking questions about them that night. Sophia, it's just a phode. People do this all the time for parents who have passed." I said, "No, Trevor." Her voice cracked on my name in a way I'd never heard before. "Can you just trust me on this one thing?" I let it go that night, but something in me couldn't stop turning it over. "Trust me on this one thing, not it's too painful, not I don't want to cry at my own wedding. Trust me." 3 days later, unable to shake the unease sitting in my chest, I did something I'm not proud of but something I needed to do. I searched Sophia's mother's name online, the name she'd told me years earlier during that one conversation about the crash, Diane Whitmore. I searched obituaries in the Sacramento area for the year Sophia said the accident happened. Nothing. I expanded the search statewide, still nothing. I searched news archives for car accidents on Highway 99 during that timeframe involving fatalities. Nothing matching what she described. My hands were actually shaking by the time I closed my laptop that night. I didn't confront her immediately. I told myself I needed more information before accusing my fiancée of lying about her own parents' deaths, something that felt too enormous to raise without certainty. So I did something else instead. I looked through her phone one evening while she was in the shower, feeling sick about it even as I did it, and found a contact saved simply as "Do Not Answer," a Modesto area code. I called that number from my own phone the next day, blocked, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. A woman answered. "Hello, is this Diane Whitmore?" A long pause. "Who's asking?" "My name is Trevor. I'm engaged to Sophia." The silence that followed lasted so long I thought she'd hung up. Then finally, a voice thick with something between hope and heartbreak. "Sophia's engaged, she's alive, she's okay." That single sentence rearranged everything I thought I understood. Diane Whitmore was very much alive, so I would learn 30 minutes later was Sophia's father, Gary. They lived in Modesto, 90 minutes from Sacramento, in the same house Sophia grew up in. They hadn't spoken to their daughter in 9 years. Diane told me the story slowly, carefully, clearly still raw with grief that had nothing to do with a car accident on a rainy highway. When Sophia was 22, she'd fallen into a relationship with a man her parents strongly disapproved of. A relationship that, according to Diane, involved manipulation and control that worried them deeply. When they tried to intervene, tried to warn her, Sophia accused them of controlling her life, cut off all contact, and eventually left the state entirely. The relationship that caused the rift had ended within a year of her leaving, but by then, the silence between them had calcified into something neither side knew how to break. "We've sent birthday cards every single year," Diane said, voice breaking. "They always come back unopened. We didn't even know where she was living until you called just now." I sat in my car outside my own apartment for nearly an hour after that call, trying to reconcile the woman I loved with a story about parents Diane described as heartbroken, not villainous, not the kind of people who deserve to be erased and declared dead to the world. Here's my plan, the one I need to explain carefully because I know how it sounds. I didn't tell Sophia what I discovered right away. Instead, I asked Diane if she and Gary would be willing to meet me in person, just me first, before I said anything to Sophia at all. I needed to understand the full picture before deciding what, if anything, to do with it. That's how I ended up sitting outside their house in Modesto on a Thursday evening in February, 7:50 p.m., engine off, hands cold, staring at a porch light that had clearly been left on for longer than just that evening. Gary answered the door. Tall, tired-eyed, older than I expected. "You're Trevor," he said, not a question. We sat in their living room for 2 hours. Photos of Sophia covered nearly every surface, a childhood frozen in frames throughout a house that had never stopped waiting for her to come home. Gary showed me 9 years of unopened birthday cards, a shoebox full of them, stamps changing with the years, his handwriting steady on every single envelope despite never once getting an answer. "We made mistakes," Gary admitted. "We pushed too hard when she was with that man. We should have found a gentler way. But we never stopped loving her, not for a single day." I drove home that night with a decision sitting heavy in my chest. I couldn't just casually mention this discovery to Sophia over dinner. I needed her to hear it in a way that couldn't be brushed aside or deflected the way she'd deflected every question about her family for 3 years. The confrontation happened 2 nights later in our apartment, the shoebox of unopened birthday cards sitting on our coffee table between us. I'd asked Gary and Diane's permission to bring one, just one, as proof before I said a single word about what I'd found. Sophia walked in, saw the shoebox, and went completely white. "Where did you get that, Modesto?" I said quietly. "Your parents are alive, Sophia. They've been alive this whole time." She sat down hard on the couch, hands trembling, and for a long moment said nothing at all. Then the truth came out in pieces, fractured, ashamed, 9 years of built-up shame finally cracking open. The relationship her parents had warned her about. The screaming fight the week she left. The lie about the car accident, one she told once to a coworker years ago out of embarrassment, and then kept telling because it was easier than explaining an estrangement she didn't know how to justify to anyone, including herself. "I was so ashamed," she said, crying now, "that I let a relationship destroy my family, that I couldn't just admit I was wrong, that the longer I stayed silent, the harder it got to ever go back. It felt easier to just let them be dead to everyone, including me. I want to tell you I handled that conversation with perfect grace, but I didn't. I was angry, hurt that she'd built an entire fictional grief around living parents rather than trusting me with the truth. Sophia, I was about to marry you without ever knowing your actual family existed. Do you understand how that feels?" "I know," she whispered. "I know. I'm sorry. Here's the twist that mattered most. I didn't call off the wedding, but I also didn't let this slide quietly into the past the way she clearly hoped it might. I told her plainly that our marriage couldn't start on a foundation with a 9-year lie buried underneath it, and that if she wanted to move forward with me, she needed to move forward honestly with her parents first, whatever that looked like, however uncomfortable it became. It took 3 more months, 3 months that pushed our wedding date back twice. But Sophia eventually drove to Modesto herself, sat in that same living room I'd sat in, surrounded by 9 years of unopened birthday cards, and had the conversation she'd been avoiding for nearly a decade. It wasn't easy. There was crying, there was anger on both sides, there was a lot of hard truth about how everyone involved had failed each other in different ways. But 6 months after that first phone call to a number saved as Do Not Answer, Sophia and I finally got married in a small ceremony in a backyard in Modesto, not Sacramento, with her parents sitting in the front row, Diane clutching a tissue through the entire ceremony. Gary walking his daughter down a short grass aisle he never thought he'd get the chance to walk. I think about that shoebox sometimes, 9 years of birthday cards that never got opened, love that kept showing up anyway even when it wasn't wanted, even when it was actively rejected. Sophia and her parents are still rebuilding slowly, carefully, the way you rebuild anything that's been broken for almost a decade. But they're rebuilding, which is more than any of them had 6 months before I sat outside a house in Modesto, engine off, about to knock on a door that changed everything.